Good question. So we get to 1992 and 1982. St. Louis Cardinals 82 versus the Toronto Blue Jays 1992. What was the better team? I love these baseball related ones because, to be honest with you, aside from doing some research on some things that I have forgotten, I do remember the games very well. I can tell you almost where I was verbatim because I was a diehard baseball fan. Now, if you watch my videos, obviously over time, football is probably the sport that I watch more than anything now that I keep up with that keeps my interest because the NBA was interesting. Baseball was my first love. Love tennis, love boxing. Back in the day, depends on when you come along, what you watch, tennis, golf. But baseball was my sport back in the day. And I used to keep up with the teams, collect cards, the tops cards, all that. And the Cardinals were one of my favorite teams. I'm no doubt a Yankee fan. The Cardinals were I always liked the way they played with their small ball lineup and the pick and pop that they did. And I thought Whitey Herzog was a great manager. As a matter of fact, I got family in St. Louis, Missouri, and I got a chance to go to Ozzie Smith's restaurant way back in the day. And he was one of my favorite players. I love the way he played shortstop, the flips he did, all that. But anyway, let me tell you about those Cardinals. They were 92 and 70 back then. They had won the division. Um, Lonnie Smith, who turned out to be one of my, I like the way he played. Ended up playing for the Atlanta Braves later. Liked his versatility as a hitter, playing. Liked the way he played. I don't want to say Willie McGee was there too. He was one of my favorite players. Tommy Hurst, which didn't like the way he rotated. Keith Hernandez, who was big for the Mets, versatile. Of course, you know him. Some people, there's a generation only know him for those dyeing your hair commercials with Walt Clyde Frazier. But he could flat out play first base. And he was a co-MVP back in 79. I want to say with Willie Stargell. So I used to like Keith Hernandez. He was cool. Darrell Porter, who won the MVP catcher at the time. And, George Hammer Hendricks. I remember George Hammer Hendricks. Now, I didn't get into about the pitchers because I want to say that Forsh was still pitching for St. Louis back then. This is the thing I'm going to say about that Busch Stadium and all that. That was a heck of a World Series against Milwaukee because at that time Milwaukee's the Brew Crew with Ben Ogilvy, and I want to say I think Cecil Cooper, Gorman Thomas was there. Those guys could flat out hit the ball. Cecil Cooper, I think, was there. They just pitching. They missing Riley Fingers because he was missing that series. It was a great battle of the Midwest, if you will. That was a real battle of a World Series. The Brewers were fun to watch back then. They were really fun to watch back then. And this was a great World Series. Then we get